Uh, Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I have also joined. So, uh, First speaker is on. Okay, fine.
I am audible. I'm audible.
Yes, you are, and we are able to see your screen with a beautiful image of this nice building.
Myself, Dr. Madhu Kumar. I am professor in the Department of Pathology in King George's Medical University, Lucknow, state of Uttar Pradesh from India. I would like to say thanks to the UCG conference for presentation of case report. Thank you very much to the organizers. This is a case study. 46-year lady presented with history of breast lump that was gradually increasing in size during last 1 year. On physical examination, a hard non-tender lump of size 4 into 3 centimeter was noted in the leftover quadrant of breast. No previous medical or surgical history was available, and her chest X-ray and ultrasonography abdomen was normal. So clinically, this case was diagnosed as breast carcinoma. The objective is to study the case, this case that was mimicking as the carcinoma breast, not otherwise specified. The sonography and fine needle aspiration cytology was advised, and the sonomammography showed the ill-defined, moderate size, irregular space occupying lesion in the leftover quadrant of breast at the 5 o'clock position. The lesion measures 35 into 25 mm in size, and the lesion was irregular in outline with fine calcifications, and increased vascularity was also noted. Few axillary lymph node was also seen, and the largest size of lymph node was 1.2 into 0.8 mm in size. And the FNA smear of this case, as you can see, this picture shows the this is a hypercellular smear, and the discretely or diffusely or the single line cells scattered in the background of the hemorrhage. And this is the high power of the same. You can see the tumor cells are the mildly pleomorphic, round to oval polygonal cells with the inconspicuous to prominent nucleoli with the mild to moderate amount of the cytoplasm. And in this picture, you can see the mitotic figures are also seen, and at this place you can see the sub necrosis also noted in this smear. So the diagnosis was in this case was reported as an intraductal carcinoma breast, and the patient underwent for a modified radical mastectomy, and the specimen sent for the histopathological examination. We received a left modified radical mastectomy specimen with axillary lymph nodes, labeled 2 lymph nodes, and interpectoral lymph nodes. The entire breast specimen was measuring 12 into 11 into 7 centimeter in size, received along with axillary tail, axillary lymph nodes, labeled 2 lymph nodes, along with interpectoral lymph nodes. The on cutting of the breast, we find a ill-defined tumor measuring 3.5 into 3 into 2.5 centimeter tumor size was present in the leftover quadrant of the breast, which was firm in consistency, along with few tiny areas of hemorrhage and necrosis, or also noted the representative section taken, process section cut stain with ethany stain. You can see this is the gross specimen of breast. The tumor is this is the tumor, and white, dirty white or dirty gray in appearance with the small tiny hemorrhagic areas. On microscopic examination, the tumor cells arranged in organoid pattern and the solid nesting pattern in seeds, and these tumor cells are separated by the fibrous stroma, and individual tumor cells were mildly pleomorphic, relatively small to large in size. Basically, these cells are uniform in size with mild pleomorphism, and with granular salt pepper nuclear chromatin and mild to moderate amount of eosinophilic cytoplasm, as well as there is a fair number of mitotic figures in per high power field. There is a 2 to 3 mitosis are also seen. At some places the focal area also necrosis was also seen. The axillary lymph nodes was also positive for the tumor deposits. In this image, you can see the nesting of the tumor cells. The tumor cells are arranged in the solid nesting pattern, or in the organoid, or you can say the insular pattern. And these cells are these tumor cells are separated by the thin and thick fibrous stroma. At this place, you can see the ductal carcinoma in situ component. This smear is a very cohesive cluster of the tumor cells, and this is the high power view of the same. You can see there is the solid nesting of the tumor cells and separated by the thin and thick fibrous stroma, and in between the tumor cells you can see the numerous small size blood vessels are also seen in between the tumor cells. And this is the 40x high power view of the same. You can see the all tumor cells are the mildly pleomorphic, round to oval polygonal cells with regular nuclear outlining and fine to coarse chromatin, or you can say these cells are showing salt pepper chromatin with inconspicuous to prominent nuclei, and as well as there is a lot of mitotic activity. These are the mitotic figures you can see at these places. And yeah, along with this is the another area of the tumor showing the ductal carcinoma in situ component, and at this place you can see the cribriform pattern of the ductal carcinoma in situ, and these images are the axillary lymph node images. See, out of 15 lymph nodes, the 2 axillary lymph nodes was positive for the metastasis, and the beautifully the lymphoid follicles are also present at this place, and the lymph node is effaced by the tumor and you can see the lymphoid tissue, and this is the tumor effaced the lymphoid tissue. And in these pictures, you can see the numerous areas of the lymphovascular invasion present, and this is the blood vessels. You can see this blood vessel lined by the endothelial cells, and this is these are the tumor cells mixed with the blood. The orange color cells are the red blood cells, and these are the tumor cells of varying amount. So on the basis of the histopathology, on the basis of the histopathology, clinical history, and physical examination, any guesses, please, audience? Any guesses, please, audience? I'm audible? I'm audible. Any guesses? So the differential diagnosis of this case was the initial diagnosis is neuroendocrine tumor, maybe primary or secondary. Or the second differential is a myoepithelial carcinoma or the IDC. And so, on the basis of these histomorphology of these cells, I apply the numerous immunohistochemical markers according to the differential diagnosis. These are the neuroendocrine markers, synaptophysin, chromogranin, and neuron-specific enolase was positive. All three the neuroendocrine markers was positive in this case, and GCDFP15 is also positive in the tumor cells. GCDFP apply for the basic for the breast tissue, because the full form of GCDFP is a gross cystic disease fluid protein 15. This is also known as the prolactin induced protein, and GCDFP is a glycoprotein and originally isolated from the breast human breast tissue, and so this is also positive in the breast parenchyma and breast tissue, and ERPR, HER2/neu, and P63 for exclusion of the myoepithelial carcinoma. These hormone receptors and P53 was negative. So in these pictures, you can see the synaptophysin, chromogranin, and neuron-specific enolase. GCDFP was beautifully positive, diffuse membranous positive in the tumor cells. And the ERPR, HER2/neu, and P63 all are negative in the tumor cells. And this is the image of the Ki67. Ki67 was markedly elevated in the 40x or the high power 40x high power view of the objective. So on the basis of the histomorphology, immunohistochemistry, Ki67, and mitotic mitosis. So our final diagnosis was the primary neuroendocrine breast carcinoma with metastatic to the axillary lymph node. Some point related to the neuroendocrine carcinomas. Primary neuroendocrine carcinoma of breast are rare subtype of breast carcinoma, first recognized by the Fattier and Hatman in the 1963. However, the classification of neuroendocrine breast carcinoma together with the clinical and prognostic analysis was done by two American pathologists, Antonio Kubila and James Woodruff, in 1977. This is a rare histologic subtype of the breast neuroendocrine tumor, and this is representing less than 0.1% of all breast cancer. In 2003 WHO classification, defines the primary neuroendocrine carcinoma as the tumor with more than 50% neoplastic cells expressing at least two neuroendocrine markers, either synaptophysin or chromogranin. The major changes are listed in 2019 WHO classification of the breast tumor in 5th edition, which is an update of the 4th edition breast tumor classification that was published in 2012. The breast tumors with the neuroendocrine differentiation, it shows the features similar to the other their counterpart in the other organ, in the lung, in GI, and in pancreas. Recently, in 2019, WHO classification organized in sequence from benign epithelial proliferation precursor through benign neoplasm to in situ and invasive breast cancer, followed by mesenchymal and hematolymphoid neoplasm, tumors of the male breast, and genetic tumor syndrome. This is the 2019 WHO classification of breast tumor. This is a report published in the histopathology journals, and it shows the major changes within the new classification of the breast tumors. So I want to only discuss the changes related to the neuroendocrine tumors. The neuroendocrine tumors are specified as a neuroendocrine neoplasm and neuroendocrine differentiation. Neuroendocrine neoplasm are typed as neuroendocrine tumor, small cell neuroendocrine carcinoma, and large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma. Neuroendocrine differentiation overridden by the morphological tumor type like NST and mucinous and solid papillary carcinomas. In this table, you can see the evolution of the histologic grading of neuroendocrine neoplasm based on mitotic count, Ki67 labeling index, by the classification and according to the years. In 2000, only the tumors are graded on the basis of the mitotic count, only grade 1 and grade 2. And in 2006, 2009, 2010, WHO classification, the tumors graded as a grade 1 to grade 3 on the basis of the mitotic activity. And in 2019 WHO classification, the grade 1 tumor, the mitotic count is less than 2 per 2 square millimeter, then it is graded as a grade 1. If mitotic figure is 2 to 20 per 2 square millimeter, then graded as a grade 2. And in grade 3, the mitosis is more than 20 per 2 square millimeter. And Ki, on the basis of the Ki67, in grade 1, the Ki67 is less than 3. If the Ki67 is between 3 to 20, then it is graded as 2. And if the count is more than 20, then this is graded as a grade 3. This is the WHO classification of the digestive system in 5th edition, and Lyon 2019. And the classification and grading of criteria of neuroendocrine neoplasm on the of the GI and hepatobiliary WHO classification. In 2019, the neuroendocrine tumors are graded as grade 1 to 3, and these neuroendocrine tumors are differentiated as the well-differentiated tumors. But the neuroendocrine carcinoma, either small cell carcinoma or large cell carcinoma, are differentiated as a poorly differentiated carcinoma. So the neuroendocrine tumors are well differentiated, and neuroendocrine carcinomas are the poorly differentiated or high grade tumors. And if the mitotic count is more than 20 and Ki index is more than 20, then it is graded as a high grade tumor. And if the count is 3 to 20, then it is graded as a neuroendocrine tumor grade 2. And if the Ki index is more than 3 and the mitotic count more than 20, then it is graded as neuroendocrine tumor. And the update in neuroendocrine tumors, well differentiated neuroendocrine tumors broadly correspond to grade 1. Grade 1 are the carcinoid like these tumors are benign in behavior, and the grade 2 atypical carcinoid like intermediate behavior, and poorly differentiated neuroendocrine carcinomas are typed as small cell or large cell carcinomas. Only if the neuroendocrine histological features and neuroendocrine markers expression are distinct and uniform enough to classify the cancer as the rare neuroendocrine tumor or neuroendocrine carcinoma of breast, should be typed as a neuroendocrine neoplasia. Many breast tumors that display varying degree of neuroendocrine differentiation belongs to recognized entities such as hypercellular mucinous carcinomas, solid papillary carcinoma of both in situ and the invasive form. Among the neuroendocrine markers, the neuron-specific enolase was positive in almost all cases, with the variable expression of either synaptophysin or chromogranin. About 50% of low to intermediate grade neuroendocrine tumor expresses chromogranin, and only 16% expresses synaptophysin. Zincuglu et al. Found synaptophysin positivity in 91.7% cases and chromogranin in 41.7% of the cases. Neuroendocrine differentiation arises from the divergent differentiation of neoplastic stem cells into epithelial and endocrine cell lines during early carcinogenesis. And these differentiation demonstrated in up to of 30% of IDC, and this is most frequently found in the mucinous carcinomas. In primary neuroendocrine carcinoma of the breast, more than 50% of the cell population shows the neuroendocrine differentiation. And in breast carcinoma, not otherwise specified, with focal endocrine differentiation revealed by the immunohistochemical expression in the scattered cells in the few cells. And these neuroendocrine carcinomas, also known as eosinophilic breast carcinoma, breast carcinoid tumors, endocrine carcinomas, and now these breast carcinomas are classified as a breast carcinoma with neuroendocrine differentiation or primary neuroendocrine breast carcinoma. These breast tumors with neuroendocrine differentiation show features similar to their counterpart in other organ of the body like lung, GIT, and in the pancreas. These tumors are usually seen in the elderly women around 6 to 7 decades of life, as reported in the literature. The treatment of these patients are based on the location of the tumor, staging, and the receptor status of the patient. The hormonal therapy is based on the receptor status of the patient. The treatment of choice is surgery. This is a combination of the mastectomy, axillary dissection, and mastectomy. The indication for chemotherapy and radiotherapy are same as for other breast cancers. This patient received chemotherapy and doing well after the 6 months of follow-up. The differential diagnosis, commonest differential diagnosis is the metastatic neuroendocrine carcinoma, which accounts for 1 to 2% of metastasis to the breast. The distinction of primary from metastatic neuroendocrine tumor is critical to avoid misdiagnosis. The primary neuroendocrine tumors are generally associated with the DCIS component, and these component shows the nuclear ATP and pleomorphism is also fables primary neuroendocrine tumor of the breast. And I want to summarize some points related to this case. Mostly these cases presented with breast lumps predominantly in the retroareolar or upper outer quadrant of the breast. This patient was presented with lower quadrant of the breast, and size of tumor varied from 1 centimeter to 14 centimeter in the literature. In this case, the tumor size was 3.5 centimeter. And generally, the neuroendocrine tumor of breast occurs predominantly in the postmenopausal woman in the 6 to 7 decade of the life. And this case, the age of this patient was 46 years of the age. And microscopically, the tumor consists of the cellular solid expansile nest, trabecular cord rosette, sometime in the grade 1 tumors. Associated with the DCIS, and the present case was associated with the ductal carcinoma in situ component was also present in this case. The ER/PR and HER2 status was variable in the numerous studies. In the present study, this case was triple negative. Among the neuroendocrine markers, the neuron-specific enolase was positive in all cases with variable expression of either synaptophysin or chromogranin, and the immunohistochemical chemistry reveals neuroendocrine markers positivity in more than 50% of the cells. In the present case, the neuron-specific enolase, synaptophysin, chromogranin, all three markers was diffuse positive in the tumor cells. And the take-home message of the case is the one thing should always, the pathologist, one thing should always kept in mind to exclude metastatic neuroendocrine tumors and always search for primary in the lung, in GIT and pancreas. On the basis of the clinical history, examination, histomorphology, immunohistochemical examination to achieve the final diagnosis, the histopathology and immunohistochemical examination is the only way to exclude all the differentials to achieve their correct diagnosis and facilitating a correct prognostic information and treatment therapy of the patient. And this is the last slide. These are my references, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Madhu. Thank you, Dr. Madhu. It was an excellent presentation, very nice. And as we all know that neuroendocrine carcinoma is a very rare breast tumor, primary. And so it was worked up very well, and the slides were excellent. The lymphovascular invasion, including the perineural, everything was very nicely explained. So if there are any questions from the participants, I can see one question if you'd like to take. How do you differentiate this lesion from solid papillary carcinoma of the breast? Apart from lacking PR and ER in this case, is that the only factor for the differentiation based on your experience? So they want to know, how will you differentiate neuroendocrine carcinoma from solid papillary carcinoma?
On the histomorphological basis, there is the papillary pattern. You can see the papillary pattern also in these histopathological arrangement of the papillary pattern you can see, and these tumor cells are pleomorphic as comparison to the neuroendocrine carcinomas, and showing the vesicular nuclear chromatin and prominent nucleoli.
Okay. And can you tell me what are the important prognostic factors for this, like neuroendocrine carcinoma? What important factors will consider in this?
The bad prognosis of these patients, the age of the patient, and the LVI, if LVI present, lymph node metastasis are present in these cases, the prognosis was bad.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Madhu. Once again, it was a very nice presentation, very lucid.
Okay. Thank you so much.